Hey, welcome to the video. Today's video, I'm going to show you a few tricks that you can add into your maps to help make them stand out. It's a automatic crafting method. Most people currently are using just a conditional button or some recipe between that and just a regular button that hooks to the conditional button and grants the items for the recipe. What I've got set up here is it hooked into a mutator zone and just a little shack built around it shows the recipe outside, and that way it'll work when you just walk through it. You don't have to actually do anything. First thing you would need to do is set up, of course, a conditional button like here. I've got two items in it. You can see just a mechanical bow and a grenade, and the settings I've changed on it are just two key slots. This one is set up not to consume the items, because if you walk through the shack and you don't have both, you don't want to lose what you do have. When it's activated, it'll transmit, or it'll receive from 20, which is the mutator zone. And when it's activated, it'll transmit on 30. And that's hooked into then item granter. And on grant action, keeps all, so that somebody else wants to come through, they can still get this. We don't want it to clear the inventory. When it grants, it'll receive from 30. When the item is granted, it'll transmit on 31. And then what that is ties back into another conditional button set up for the same two items, and it'll activate when receiving from 31. And this is the way of taking the items for the recipe for crafting out of someone's inventory. Now, a lot of people, like I said, just use the conditional buttons, or they'll just have like a button like this on something like a upgrade station or desk, something, and have that tied in. That's one way of doing it. You would just then set this button to transmit into the first conditional button. That way, if somebody doesn't have everything and they're trying to upgrade, you don't want them automatically losing what they do have if they don't have all the right parts. But the way I've got it set up is I've just built a little shack here, put a conditional button so you know what items you have to upgrade, and just put a little title, Craft Shack. And the way this works, you walk through the building, you walk into the mutator zone, and your items are automatically upgraded. You don't have to do anything. So we'll just pick up grenade and bow. We'll walk in, boom, come out, and I've got a boom bow. As you can see, I'm walking through the mutator zone multiple times, and it's not giving me anything extra. When you use the conditional button with both items in one button versus trying to set up two buttons with each item separately and then hook them through triggers to tie them together, that's where the mistake is made, and it'll cause when you just hit the button twice to give the item, because it's receiving two signals. This way, the signal only is transmitted if you have both items. So again, this is something simple and doesn't take a whole lot of extra memory. Of course, everybody uses the standard walls, but here's just some examples of what you can do to make your walls stand out a little more. Here's just a standard brick. On this one, just use two different bricks, walls, tie them together. You use for this outside one, make it a little thicker so it stands out, but it gives it more character. And then same thing on all of these down through here are examples. Just a standard wall, which, yeah, everybody uses. But then you add something a little extra over it, makes it stand out a little more, seem more interesting. And same thing here. Just a standard, add something else to it. You know, on both sides, it helps it stand out, makes it more unique. Anything you can do to your maps to make them more unique, more your own, that no one else is doing. That's the kind of thing you want to do. And the next thing I was going to talk about is kind of what related to my previous video. Always remember the items that you can turn on and off with channels. Collectibles, the collectibles gallery, every item in there can be turned on and off by channel, and same with your objective device gallery. And then also if you go into your regular galleries, meteor particle gallery, those can be turned on and off, and the other particle galleries as well. Granted, you know, the way these float up and down, there's not a whole lot you can do with them, but there's still interesting things you can do since they are able to be turned on and off. You can tie those to triggers to make them appear, switches. You know, you could hook it into a switch where when it's flipped one way, one shows, when it's flipped the other direction, different one shows. And of course, the objective devices and all the particles and everything you can use to build things and turn them on and off, build animations like I showed in my last video. And then also these have that sound that you're hearing as well. So, you know, that's a way of adding something extra. You could put one of those behind a wall, make it appear at a certain time, and it'll give off that sound. So there's other ways than the way these were originally intended for these to be used. In your maps, you are able to use multiple HUD message devices all on the same channel, and you can pick the order in which they play. I found this out by accident. In one of my maps, I was using the HUD message device and kept getting cut off to where once it reached the width of the screen, it chopped off the rest, and you couldn't read it, couldn't see it. So I felt it was limited. So what I started doing was I used multiple of them, and so I tried this, and when I tried it, it actually worked, and kind of learned from that and figured this out so that you can do this no matter what your map's like. Like right now, I know they're not visible, but all the HUD message devices are right here in front of me where I was, and I've got the button here on this side of me. If I hit this, they'll play in order because of their location. And when they play, that's what they're tied to, is player location, not the button, but the player location versus the HUD message device. So while you can just make sure that the player is going to be in the farthest away from in order that you want them to play. Like if there was a wall here, I could just put them straight out like that. But you have to make sure that you know that the player is not going to end up somewhere over here as they're activated or anything like that, because sometimes weird things happen in maps. So one thing you can do to make sure that they do play correct, like this is the first, second, third, fourth, is we'll take the first, and we're just going to stack it on top of the second. We'll take the third, put it under, and the fourth, and put it under that one, and then just select all these. Okay, and then since our button's right there, and we know they play in order based on player location, so what you can do then is take them down below your map because you know your player's never going to get farther away, then they'll be under the map. Place them here, go up. We'll start the game and you'll see they play perfectly in order. And you can do this anytime and use as many as you wanted. And say no matter where I walk, they'll play in this order because I'm the same distance away from them. So that's one way of using multiple HUD message devices and having them play the message you want, broke down how you want. You can do it just 2, you do 10. I mean, you could do a countdown if you were doing a map and when it got triggered, it get flashes on the screen 10, 9, 8, and so on, and each HUD message device could be just one number. That gives you a lot of possibilities for what you can do. And then last, I'm going to touch on the barrier device. What I've did here is just put it out and put it on every pattern you can apply to the barrier. You've got brick, you've got the tile plate, invisible, stone, the translucent, black, gloss black, sky blue, red barrier, blue barrier, then the nebula, red nebula, green nebula, purple nebula, black star field, red star field, green, blue, and then the translucent that is invisible until you get close. And these again can be turned on and off by channels, which means there's a lot you can do with these. Besides making just a standard barrier, I've used these in maps to block a doorway and tell you something's accomplished, and then it receives a signal, opens up the doorway. But these have lots of possibilities. I've used in some maps the invisible and put it as floating platforms in the air and drop little leaves on it, kind of showing as a hint as to where you could actually walk, how far you could go. But of course, it looks like the leaves are just floating in the air. You can make a changing map for a maze out of them so that when someone's walking along a path, they hit a trigger and, if these are being used as your walls, all of a sudden the maze has changed. There's a lot of possibilities on that. But that's pretty much all I was going to cover in today's video. Thank you for watching. If you want more content like this, please subscribe and drop a like. Thanks.